Hi, I'm Sonya White Jaguar. Welcome to White Jaguar Weekend Read, my weekly audiobook series. Today I'm reading my free book, Writing Alan Rickman's Autobiography, a fan fiction romance. Writing in memoir style, a romance author turned celebrity biographer reveals the love and heartache she experienced with actor Alan Rickman while ghostwriting his autobiography. This fan fiction romance is inspired by Madly Deeply, the Diaries of Alan Rickman. Although the story is fictional, many passages contain material that I channeled from Alan. So Alan himself has kindly shared wisdom, advice, and insight into his former life. The story is dedicated to you, Alan's fans. Your devotion to keeping the actor's memory alive is inspiring. Thank you for circulating photos and videos on social media and for writing fan fiction. Alan's work will undoubtedly be remembered for years to come because of you. The first chapter is being released today, February 21, 2025, in honor of the 9th anniversary of Alan's passing on January 14 and what would have been his 79th birthday today. Chapter 1, Meeting Alan Rickman. Writing a book about how I met and worked with actor Alan Rickman was not easy. In the beginning, I had no sense of direction or what I wanted to say. After years as a romance novelist, writing with a predictable formula that was second nature to me, I had no choice but to cast that beloved structure aside, because this was a completely different kind of book. Sometimes I was overcome by my emotions and the memories of our experiences together. Other times I had difficulty remembering certain conversations we'd had. I compiled so many pages of notes that I was overwhelmed and didn't know where to start. So I thought the best thing to do was to start at the beginning. When my agent called and said that a movie star was in need of a ghostwriter to help him write his autobiography, I was intrigued. I'd been a romance novelist for 10 years, based in New York City. While my first 5 novels had sold well, my career was now faltering. The sales of my last 2 novels had plummeted, so my publisher didn't want to renew my contract. I was questioning everything: reasons to continue writing, the ability to put words on the page, what I wanted out of life, and even my sanity. I was ready to leave New York. I was so desperate for work that when my agent suggested I try ghostwriting until I figured things out, I agreed. However, I wasn't expecting our next conversation to be about an actor's memoir. She said the man had asked for me by name. When she revealed it was British actor Alan Rickman, I thought at first this could work. Although I didn't know much about Alan, I recognized his name and knew he was considered a consummate professional in the entertainment business. He was highly regarded for his portrayal of Professor Snape in the Harry Potter film series and his work in blockbusters like Die Hard and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Then reality set in. I'd be way in over my head. I had the romance formula down. I knew every boy meets girl trope. I knew how to take readers on a roller coaster ride through all the ups and downs of a couple's relationship. And I knew how to end a novel with a happily ever after that would leave readers begging for a sequel. However, I knew nothing about acting, filmmaking, or the theater. I never liked Shakespeare, and I was too ashamed to admit that I had dismissed actors as neurotic, insecure egotists. I couldn't write an actor's autobiography. After spewing some expletives at my agent, I said she was out of her mind for suggesting such a preposterous assignment. As I was about to hang up the phone, she blurted out what Alan was willing to pay me to write his book. I'd make twice as much on this one project as I'd earned over the past 2 years. It's amazing how quickly we can change our minds. With no hesitation, I said, "All right, I'll do it." She arranged for me to meet Alan at a party that night celebrating his latest film, A Little Chaos, a period romance about a woman landscaper who builds a garden at Versailles for King Louis XIV in 1682. Alan had directed the film and played the role of the king. The job offer was so sudden I didn't have time to watch the movie first. That evening I squeezed into a black cocktail dress I hadn't worn in years and taxied to the nightclub. The party was a who's who of actors and industry people. The bar was notorious for hosting exclusive events with short invite lists, and there was no way I would have been permitted to attend if I hadn't taken this job. Curiously, I didn't see Alan anywhere. It wasn't long before the DJ cranked up the music and people started dancing. At that point, I figured Alan wasn't going to make it. My hopes dashed, I assumed the job was lost. While I was disappointed, I was relieved at the same time. My agent would find me another job, one I'd be better suited for. So, freed from the burden of writing a book I wasn't sure I could pull off, I decided to make the most of the evening and rock with the crowd. After 2 or 3 songs, I was startled by someone who came up behind me and put their hands on my waist. I stopped dancing and turned my head to see who it was. A man swiftly moved in front of me. He was at least 6 feet tall, dressed simply in a dark suit with a light-colored scarf around his neck. Recognizing him instantly, I sighed in relief. Before I could say anything, he surprised me by clasping my hands and dancing me around the room so fast I thought I'd trip and fall. As he flashed a joyful smile at me, his eyes smiled too. He never took his eyes off mine as he whirled me around the crowd. He didn't stop dancing and release my hands until the song ended. That was how I met Alan Rickman. I didn't expect him to literally sweep me off my feet. What an entrance. I'll never forget it. "Let me get you a drink and we'll chat," Alan said, gesturing toward the bar. He had to speak loudly to be heard over the music, and his distinct baritone voice reverberated in my chest. After the bartender handed the actor 2 martinis, we settled into a corner booth. After a quick toast, Alan said, "Lovely to make your acquaintance. I've been looking forward to meeting you." "Oh," I said, "you must be eager to begin work on your book." Alan looked down at the table for a moment, as if trying to figure out what to say. He met my gaze again when he said, "Well, before we get into that, I want you to know something. I'm a big fan of your work." Astonished, all I could say in response was, "Really?" Alan was unbelievably frank with me. He said, "I've read all your novels. I knew right from the start that you were someone I could have long conversations with. That's why I requested you when I learned you were available. I admire the way you bring your characters to life. Your work makes points that the world needs to hear. You evoke real emotions, and you make every setting feel romantic. That's what I'm looking for. I'm terribly boring. I want someone who can bring me to life on the page and add some romance. Make me more captivating. See what I mean?" I was flattered by Alan's compliments. This movie star was a fan of my books. We were getting off on the right foot, but I still wasn't convinced I'd be able to provide the intrigue and spice he was looking for. However, after he made such a memorable first impression on me, whisking me around the dance floor, I couldn't dismiss the job offer out of hand. I didn't know if he'd done that on purpose to win me over. If so, he succeeded. I was excited at the prospect of working with someone over the next several months who had a flair for the dramatic and was so full of life. We agreed to speak again after I connected with my agent and worked out the details of the contract. To prepare for the assignment, I spent the next few weeks watching Alan's films and reading interviews he'd given over the years. I was hoping to impress him with my research and my knowledge of his career. While I thought Alan was very talented, I was underwhelmed by many of his movies. I'd had high hopes for A Little Chaos, since it was a romance, but after watching it, I was sadly disappointed. I thought the romantic tension between the 2 main characters was weak, and the plot lacked conflict. The next time my agent phoned, she said she'd arranged for me to have lunch with Alan at his home here in New York. What would I say to him? How could I tell him that his work didn't resonate with me and I found fault with his latest film? I tried to talk myself out of going. This is a total waste of time. I'm setting myself up for failure. I won't be able to write about someone I can't relate to. I almost called my agent back and said to cancel the meeting. But the contract was signed, and I couldn't stop thinking about the money. This gig is high profile. This could open big doors for me and transform my career. There would never be another opportunity like this. I was so nervous that I spent way too much time trying to figure out what to wear. I finally settled on an understated pantsuit that I hoped would make me look professional, but not overdressed. Not wanting to arrive empty-handed, I bought a bottle of cognac on the way over, hoping that would be an appropriate gift and an acceptable peace offering, since I didn't like a little chaos. But I couldn't settle my nerves. Sweating so badly in the back of the taxi, my pantsuit stuck to me in all the most awkward places. When I finally found myself at the door of Alan's apartment building, all I wanted to do was return home and crawl into bed. Taking a long, deep breath, I fought the urge to run and rang the bell. Join me next week for Chapter 2, The Actor's Mosaic. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so you'll be notified when the next video is posted. You can also sign up for my newsletter on my website, sonyawhitejaguar.com, and get notified that way. I send out newsletters twice a month. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next week.